Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we give no fuck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yucks, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Adam Heath Avitable.
This is the DKS Podcast, a podcast about love, sex, culture, and society. This week, we'll be asking the question, do adults need sex education? Enjoy the show.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, now's the time to hit the bell, get all the notifications, go ahead and like and comment. And if you're one of the haters who have come from some of my recent shorts who have really not liked this, you should probably watch this episode because you need to learn about sex ed. I can tell just from your crusty ass comments. So let's go.
Well, a little birdie told me that you're in Florida. Back
Little birdie being you being an old lady on Facebook, I think, right?
I know. I checked Facebook for the first time and saw you were in Orlando.
Yes, I'm finally back home. It is funny that I've never really enjoyed this place until it is kind of home. Like it was weird. Even like I was in Jacksonville for the weekend visiting my sister, and that was nice. But like it wasn't until I like left Jacksonville and then I started getting closer to Orlando that I was like, oh, it just really does feel like home to me. Like I mean, I grew up in Ormond, so I mean, I guess I've literally been in this general area almost most of my life, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and
it's just familiar. You know, I didn't have to have my GPS on anymore. I knew where I was going at all times. You know, that is
nice.
Yeah, it is kind of a nice thing. So I'm back here for a while, for about 6 weeks. Going to see people, say goodbyes, and then pack up my storage unit and move to Tulsa. So that's kind of exciting. I've only been here, this is a Tuesday. I've been here since Monday night. Already went out last night. So
don't keep it going for 6 weeks. You can't handle that.
I can't handle that. It's funny because so before that I was in Charlotte, and in Charlotte I went out every single night that I was there because I met friends from college out. I met one of my old exes, the one who's married and everything. That we were really good friends. We went out and had a great time. I met another friend out as well. And then I actually had even a Bumble date when we were
Wait,
out.
What? You had a Bumble date and didn't tell me? I
actually went on a date. I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You didn't tell me anything about this. Go on.
Didn't I? I thought I did. So I matched with her, and she's like, oh, she was already a fan of the podcast. She already listened to the podcast, so she already knew who we are. She's a big fan of you as well. And we were talking, and she was like, I'd love to get a drink. And so we go ahead and scheduled it. And it actually turns out she and I are already Facebook friends. So I'm not sure, at some point over her listening to the podcast, she went on Facebook and added me, and I felt bad that I didn't realize it. But it's just like, I have a lot of people.
Wait. You have 5,000 friends on Facebook. You know all 5,000.
No, I don't know all 5,000. So that's the thing. I didn't feel that bad. I felt a little bad, but still. And we met up at I asked her for a dive bar. That's my she's like, where should we go? And so I picked this little dive bar that was a good little place. Had a few drinks, and I would say we were out for like 3 or 4 hours, just kind of having a conversation. And she's really cool. Very, very, very interesting, and very, very pretty, extremely pretty. And recently divorced. Told me that she got divorced and had no idea how to date because last time she dated was in high school and thought it would be like normal, and then it was awful. Right. And so she started looking for articles on dating and podcasts, and then listened to a couple podcasts she found on Apple Podcasts, and they were terrible, and then came across ours and just really liked our approach and liked the advice we were giving and everything. And so she kind of stuck with it and has just been a huge fan. So that was kind of nice to hear. And then we just talked for a while. And then we've actually been kind of just chatting since. She's about to reach a point where she's going to just be traveling a lot. She kind of liked the idea that I had this nomadic life. She's like, that's really kind of cool. I want to be able to have a home base, but I want to just I try to take my weekends and just where can I go for a weekend, and just go away for weekends and stuff like that. So I don't know. We talked about potentially maybe going out again at some point if we're having to be in the same time or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, she was really engaging and really someone that I enjoy talking to. So
I did not expect that.
yeah. So see, sometimes when I don't give up on dating, it's I have a good time.
So proud.
I
I mean,
usually have a good
even
time.
though
I feel that feels bad because that makes me sound like the other people I've gone out with have been bad. No, they haven't been. But like I
you
go
were
out
in
with
the
them.
headspace.
Yeah, I go out with them. And I'm just like, what's the point? But like it's maybe it's because my travels are kind of nearing an end, so it's got a little bit more of a finality to it. So it feels like, oh, okay, well, I could see that. I mean, it's not exactly Charlotte and Tulsa aren't exactly close, but I could see continuing to maintain some type of friendship with her, and and then who knows what where anything could go. She seems like somebody that I would enjoy talking to on a consistent basis.
Oh
So
yeah. I mean, when you were in Utah, you knew you weren't going to be there forever, but you didn't know your timing. And then you've been
yeah,
on the road, you could extend it, shorten it, whatever. You couldn't commit really to
yeah,
anything.
yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so that sounds a good time. But yeah, so that was the first time that I've been in a city where I've gone out every night of the week. And it's I'm like it felt like I was doing warm-ups for Florida. Because I'm like, and I know when I come to Orlando, it's gonna be more frequent than every like 5 days that I go out and do something. I know I'm gonna have to.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Do
But
you
it
think you'll
was
host a meetup or anything?
Yes, actually, someone asked me to do that, so I'm gonna have to. I'm glad you mentioned that too. And hey, look at this! I should have put that in the agenda. Those of you who live in the Orlando area, keep an eye on. If you're in the Facebook group, then keep an eye there because I'll be posting about it there. But if not, then keep an eye on my Instagram. I'll be mentioning it. We'll probably put it up on the DKS Instagram as well. I'll
Mm-hmm.
probably do some type of local meetup, and by local meetup, I mean it'll probably be at the Altamont Ale House.
Something
Because
easy for Adam. You know how he doesn't
yes,
like to
exactly.
travel far.
Right. And plus that's my place to go. So I even stopped by there last night and got there. I went out last night with Lisa. We went out to another bar, had fun, and then she left and I was driving home and I drove by the ale house and I was like, I should stop in, even though it was like 12:30.
It's home. It's
Yeah, it's
home.
home. So I stopped in and walked in and my favorite bartender was there and she ran over and gave me a hug and didn't know I was in town because she's not on Facebook. And then I was there till like 2, just hanging out with her. So that was cool. That was fun, and it's nice to like I'm gonna miss those things, no matter what, no matter with all the other trash that happens in Florida. Like there are small things that I'm gonna miss when I leave here, but it's
Yeah.
still been a good time. Um, I also so I was in since we talked. I think we recorded when I was in Lexington, Kentucky, right?
Right.
Okay, and I went out with Dirty Dancing. We went out and had a good time. Walked around downtown Lexington, which is actually really cute, and I've somehow never managed to visit it. And then she invited me over for dinner um, at her place. My last night there, but I wasn't able to make it. I just woke up that day feeling like just trash. I just needed to kind of rest. I felt bad about it, but I wanted to give a quick shout out to the hotel in Lexington that I stayed at. I just wanted to, shout that out. It's an Origin hotel, which is the second time I've stayed in an Origin now. I stayed in one in Westminster, right outside Denver. This one was another really great little property. I had a fantastic time. The bed was extremely comfortable. The shower was like one of those rainfall shower heads. Like it was just really nice, and all the design, like the decoratings are really kind of like kitschy and cute in all the places. So it doesn't feel dated like a hotel room. It actually feels kind of fresh and new. And the restaurant downstairs, this one was called 33 Staves. I found out that they bring in like high-end chefs to revamp the menus and stuff when they open these places, and the food was fantastic and the drinks were really solid. And so I was really impressed with the whole property, and I didn't even know this whole half of Lexington existed. Like whenever I've somehow stayed, because Lexington is like a circle. It's like the downtown, and there's like literally like a circle of roads around it. I always stayed in like the upper northern quadrant, I guess, and that's kind of the boring area. And now this time I stayed down in the cool area where like there was like a liquor infused ice cream shop around the corner, and
Wow.
yeah, like it was
Cool.
just kind of neat. But yeah, so it was really a great place, and so I do recommend anybody who's got to drive through that area. Give look up Origin hotels. The prices are actually they're not unreasonable, and what you get is worth, I would say, worth the price. Absolutely. Um, and yeah, I'm going to be staying, I think, in other properties if I can, because if I go somewhere that has an Origin, I'm definitely going to stay there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Sold.
Sold. So what's going on with you?
absolutely nothing. I
Nothing
mean,
at all. Okay.
I'm sick. I'm not going out doing anything right now because I just can't. I mean, I can, but I just don't feel like it. And Roy's mom and stepdad are coming into town tonight, so like rush to record this episode
Right.
before they get
Right.
in, and then he's gonna spend the next few days with them in Seattle, and then we're gonna go hike Tahoma, or known as Mount Rainier, but the locals call it Tahoma. And then go to
Like the
where is
font.
it?
I just realized.
Huh?
Like the font.
The font?
Tahoma.
Tahoma. I don't.
It's a font. It's like a Microsoft Word font.
Oh shit! You're right.
I just
I
thought
was like, wait, what are you talking about? A font? I thought this was a pop culture reference. I just didn't understand like font, like a
no, it's
movie. What
just
am I
a
missing here?
Microsoft Word reference.
Gotcha. Well, then from there, we're gonna go to Astoria and like the coast of Oregon. So, yeah,
Okay.
little working vacation, if you will, while they're here. So
Yeah, that'll be. I mean, some fun and some work for you, but
it'll be mostly
trying to
work for
juggle.
me.
Yeah.
Besides the weekend. So it is what it is. Like I don't have a lot of PTO. Roy has unlimited PTO, which I'm jealous of. So
Right.
kind of have to do what I gotta do.
Funny thing, so my date on Charlotte, or let's just call her Charlotte since you give her a code name. Name Charlotte. She was telling me that she was so excited for the reveal of Roy's name. Like and that like she was just like, but I didn't think Roy. Like I was trying to, she was like, I had all these names in my head. I don't know. She didn't tell me what name she had in mind, but she was like, I just was so surprised by Roy. Like it just didn't occur to me at all. And I just thought that was.
I mean,
so
how
funny.
many people in their 30s do you know that are named Roy?
Oh,
Not
I don't know.
that
Yeah,
many.
I don't know any Roys. Like the only Roy I know is from The Office, and that's really the only one that I know of.
I mean, what name did people expect? Jason or
probably yeah, something. Yeah, they just associated with something related to, I don't know, but it's just funny that people had like an opinion about it, and we're surprised. I'm like, how
I
could
know
you
people
guess?
were disappointed. Like, oh damn, his name's Roy. Sorry,
it's Roy.
I can't. Damn. Do you swipe left on someone named Roy immediately? Is that why? I mean, I swipe left on Michael's, so
yeah, it could be. Oh,
not an interesting enough name to want to date.
And I had an encounter with something that I thought you would find interesting, and this is really, your opinion on this will be interesting. So I have a friend of mine who is bi, and she just posted on her Instagram story. She's a finance bro type up in Seattle, and she just posted on her Instagram story that it was a message she got on her email, her work email, that was, hey, so this was her name was actually Sarah. This is Sarah from Bumble. We didn't match, but I was so intrigued and interested in you that I kind of found your information and wanted to shoot you a quick email. So hi. And then my friend was really flattered by it. I was like, oh, she's hot and she's a real estate agent. And should I just propose now? And I was like, I messaged her and I was like, what would you do if that was a guy doing that? Like if that was a guy saying that same thing, she goes, I would be upset. Like, that like I immediately disregard the danger related because it's a woman doing it. And I said, just because it's a woman, I mean, yes, there's a little bit of difference in there, but even though it's a woman doing it, it still shows that she didn't match and thought that she was still entitled to track you down. And that's a violation of a boundary regardless. That's someone who's like, oh, well, this is what I want, so this is what I'm going to get. And that could turn toxic. It might not. She's like, you make a good point, but I wanted to see what you thought about that.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I think, yeah, if it was a guy, she would probably be upset by that. But we had a whole episode on this, and I still think you should stick within the boundaries of where you want to communicate with people who are also looking to date other people.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I figured you might agree with it too, but it is interesting because it does seem less dangerous. It does seem less of a violation when it's a woman doing it to another woman, but it still is a violation of a boundary. It's still ignoring someone's boundaries.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on, and this is not in a dating aspect at all, but I'm on a couple of Seattle make friend Facebook groups types of things, and people will post a post about themselves and who they are, and then people will respond in the comments saying, oh, I live in this area, I'd love to meet up, whatever. Oh, DM me on here. And it's all on Facebook. And I know that some people tag their Instagram or whatever. And this one person in particular said in her post, you can also DM me on Instagram. Here's my Instagram, blah, 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 giving the permission that it's okay to do that. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting because I also think just from a meeting people perspective, people will probably find you on Instagram and say, oh, I saw your post on Facebook. And that could also come across as weird because I didn't prompt you to message me on another platform.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's right. Especially, if it's all on one platform, keep it to that platform, and if you, unless you for some reason can't.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thought that was an interesting little twist on our that episode we did, and some people would find that interesting. And then speaking of twists on episodes we've done,
another twist.
How's that for a segue to this?
Yeah, what section? A hell of a segue.
Go ahead.
Speaking of twists, we had someone email us. So our most recent episode was published on September 1st, and then we got an email on September 4th from someone named John, who's a relatively new listener. And from his email, he's been listening from the beginning. So he's probably not caught up yet, but his email mentioned just asking about how to meet people in public spaces given the pandemic. And as we were reading this, we're like, listen to the most recent episode. Come on, John. I know you're starting from the beginning, but it's right there.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, that anybody who is listening like from the beginning, that it's maybe a good idea to kind of listen to the beginning, and then when there's a new episode coming out, listen to that too. Like you might get spoiled on some of the things that happen in our lives, but like it's okay to have that happen. So why
spoiled?
Not you go spoiled. People do treat it like spoilers sometimes. I've had people like be like, oh, don't tell me, like it's my actual life. I'm sorry, like I can't not spoil you about what's going on in my life right now, but yeah, so people can listen to the current episode and then go back to the back catalog, which there are many episodes, I know, but it was kind of just a weirdly psychic episode, or psychic email, basically. Like this guy's like complaining about all the things that we just talked about. It was very interesting. But John, when you eventually get around to this episode in the year 2028 or whenever it actually happens, I hope you get a good laugh out of this.
I mean, if he wants the Barbie episode reviewed too, I mean, he's going to be waiting for that.
That's right. So next up, we actually have a voicemail, and this was one that we thought was really definitely important enough to share with this was a good one. I want to thank everybody who's left voicemails. We have a couple left in our queue, voicemails/emails. And I want to encourage everybody to please leave us a voicemail. Call 407-519-0181 or email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com. And to that one random person who just texted the number, yes, you can also text the number. But then
text us the full message, but
yeah, they just texted
like
it. I just
email.
want to see if you can text it. Yeah, like, well, okay, and then what? Like, yes, you can text it, but if you text it, we have to read it. We'd rather have your voice on there just to break it up a little bit. So call and leave a voicemail. But it's 407-519-0181. But let's go ahead and listen to what Kylie had to say.
Hi, my name's Kylie, and I don't know, I just feel super discouraged with dating because so I'm a member of the LDS Church, and I'm sure if you're not like familiar with it, the LDS Church, like a lot of people get married young, and I know that like I served a mission, and when I came home from my mission, I would date, and like I had a boyfriend for a year, and long and short of it, my dating history has not been successful because a lot of the guys like have acted one way and then turn out to be not the way that they were portraying themselves to be at the beginning. And so I'm 27 now, and I know that's not old, and I know like in like the rest of the world, like outside of Utah, would be like, oh, you're so young, you have so much time, and like there are so many fish in the sea and all of that. But with being in Utah, like, and I want to like date someone and marry someone like who's inside the church, and so with a lot of them getting married, a lot of guys getting married young, I feel like, I don't know, I've gotten to a point where I'm just like, is it even worth trying anymore? Because it's just been one disappointment after the other, and I feel like a lot of the, quote, like, good, genuine guys are, like, are like, you know, gone as in like they're married, like, and so I don't know. I think I'm just super discouraged with it, and again, I know probably like someone who's not inside the church would say like would be wondering why I'm even having a problem with it, but I'm trying to have hope that there's still a guy like out there who's, you know, in the church and a genuinely good guy who's like older and who, you know, that I can end up with. It's hard. It's kind of just been hard for me to be hopeful with that, but yeah. So whatever you take from this, I'm open to hear whatever you have to say. And so
Thanks, Kylie, for your call. Obviously, I come from the camp of there's nothing wrong being single, but I do understand your frustration. After listening, though, I would be careful boxing yourself in with a lot of the LDS requirements, and they need to be in the church and all of those things because it's a smaller pool of people. There could be someone outside of the church who would be a good fit. There could still be some people left in the church who would be a good fit, but from a friend who I know who went to BYU, who did a mission trip, I just know that some people in LDS tend to get married pretty young, like you mentioned, and get married quickly, like dating for maybe less than 6 months and then get married, which I don't believe is always a strong recipe for a strong marriage. But there's no rush. Just don't box yourself in. Consider looking outside of the church and expanding your horizon just in case, you know. That's my recommendation. I know Adam feels strongly about this one.
I do. And Kylie, you sound extremely like frustrated and kind of just sad about the whole thing. And I have a lot of like sympathy for what you're going through. And I think that unfortunately, like you're in a you're kind of in a conundrum that's not your own creation, but that you have the power over. We are both very familiar with LDS. I am extremely familiar with LDS because when I was in Utah for a year, while I was taking care of my mother, I was going on dates with women who were former LDS, and I have a lot of very good friends who were former LDS as well. And notice I say former LDS, and the reason that they're former LDS is because the Mormon Church is a cult, and I'm not saying that like in exaggerated terms. It is a cult. It's an indoctrination based, not really based on a genuine religion, but based on one guy who has been, you know, kind of heralded as being this champion for a small group of people, but who did some really terrible things. And a lot of the teachings of the church are extremely misogynistic and extremely abusive towards women, even compared to other religions. Because I mean, I have a problem with all organized religions, but compared to like Catholicism, some of that LDS is worse, because it tells men that whatever they do in their life, they will be returned to their spouses will be returned to them in heaven, and they will be there in heaven. And that's why if you were to say Google how many Mormon husbands murder their spouses and then, you know, kill themselves because they think they're going to heaven for doing that. So any church that supports that is not a healthy place for women to be. I think that it also encourages people to get married extremely young. Getting married in your early 20s is just, it's unhealthy. People rush into it. And what happens is they might be fine for 5 years, maybe even 10 years. Then all of a sudden they realize they're very different people and they try to figure out what's going on. A lot of them try to look into leaving the church or trying to maybe leave each other or separate or whatever, or they go to their elders for help, and their elders blame the woman every time. They do not blame the man for anything. So it's always your fault. Everything is always going to be your fault. Men being shitty to you is your fault. Men being abusive to you, well, you know, that's their right as men, according to the Mormon Church. So the fact that you're finding that men who are LDS are not what they say they are, or they say one thing and they act in another way, is not surprising. It's indicative of that of that area, of that church, of the entire religion. So I might suggest just trying to expand your resources and researching some of this information. There's a lot of XMO people out there that talk about, just different things about the church, why they're toxic. There's a good YouTube channel, XMO Lex, EXMOLEX on YouTube. There's a bunch of them though that there's a bunch of people on Twitter that do this as well, that talk about just like what is toxic about it and what you should like, why you're not at fault for this, and why you can also still be religious and still have all the same feelings and faith, and maybe just not support the Mormon church. So I just want to, encourage you you sound like you're miserable right now. And I don't think that you're going to find what you're looking for in any state of happiness if you stick within the confines of the church. And then, like, on a purely like separate level, as far as organized religion, I think anybody who needs a religion to tell them how to be moral or how to be a good person isn't a good person. Like, if you need a church to tell you, well, this is what you do to be a good person, this is how you're wholesome, means you're not a wholesome person. You're probably a really garbage person if you need a church to tell you how to do it. So I want you to keep that in mind. These men who swear by the church because it keeps them faithful and moral must be really awful fucking people. Like, they must, if they really need the church to do that. So that's my advice. And I will say that Sarah had in big giant letters here in our agenda.
My God,
for me to be very,
dude.
very gentle about this. And I feel like this is about as gentle as I could be in what I would say.
I'm just sitting here gasping because, one, we don't explicitly talk about religion a lot. We try not to tote the line of being too political at times, or at least I try not to.
I mean,
where Adam leans into that, and I'm like,
Yes.
well, let's put the brakes. Hang on. But I do think it is important to mention I just had a couple questions as you were going on about this. If she still wanted to be in the church and is not interested in leaving the church, what is your advice to her?
Don't worry about getting married. You can still be productive and be an adult, and you just have to not listen to people who are telling you that somehow you're devaluing yourself by not popping out 14 children, all with names like Zachariah.
And there we have it. Okay, cut to a break.
That's what I think. I know, but I mean, seriously, like, you can be productive and you can still be part of the church. Like, seriously, you can message me directly, Kylie, if you have any questions. I can put you in touch with some very close friends of mine who some of them who joined the church as adults and then later walked away from it because one woman who had a sexual assault, and then she was blamed for her sexual assault and things like that. And so I can put you in touch with some of the resources that might help you at least educate yourself. So at least if you have all the information in front of you, then you can hopefully make a choice that's best for you.
All right. And with that, we'll go to break. But if you have another riveting question like that, you can call the DKS hotline at 407-519-0181. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be back with What to See with Sarah G as we explore the Badlands National Park in South Dakota. Well, on this episode of What to See with Sarah G, we are headed to South Dakota. And I know what you might be thinking. What the hell is in South Dakota that's worth visiting? I know, because I had the same question when my friend said, let's go to South Dakota. And then I ended up just going by myself. But there are actually a lot of things you could do. Like I mentioned, I did my first solo trip in 2020 and drove from Nashville to Rapid City, South Dakota, so I could visit this truly underrated national park, which is Badlands National Park. When you visit, you'll either be staying in Rapid City, or you'll have an RV or be camping somewhere. But to get there, it's about an hour drive from Rapid City. And trust me, there's really nothing out there besides the national park. But don't let that stop you. The dramatic landscape is covered in layered rock formations and steep canyons that offer stunning scenic outlooks. Tickets to enter the national park cost around $30 per vehicle, and then there's an additional $15 per person charge in addition to the vehicle. So if you have like two people in your car, it's $45. I do recommend getting there either for the sunrise or to stay for the sunset in order to see the glow over the rocks. You can also camp in the area either with your RV, or you can rent a room at the lodge within the park. If you do stay overnight, you're more than likely going to see the stars, since it is in the middle of nowhere with little to no light pollution. I didn't get to do that though. I was only there for the day, which stayed for the sunset, and that was beautiful. But if I could do it again, I would stay for a night. The park itself, though, is filled with so many wild animals, from bison, prairie dogs, bighorn sheep. Fun fact, you can also see remains. I don't think they have remains, actually. They had some signs for saber-toothed tiger teeth were found here. So they used to roam the area back long before. But like I said, I was only there for the day. Of course, there are many trails and things to do. So 2 to 3 days will probably be enough to cover the whole space. But if you only want to take the day, you can go from one end of the park to the other, go from one entrance and leave, and then take is it 90 back to Rapid City? Probably. I guess that's what it is. But you don't need a whole lot of time. If you want to do a hike, though, if you're feeling like something easy, Notch Trail is probably the most popular of all the trails. And it feels like you're walking on Mars. It takes about an hour to do. You climb up this little rope that they have. It's cool and easy to do. So I don't know. Badlands National Park, did not expect much from it. And then when I got there, I said, wow, can't believe I've gone my whole life without seeing Badlands National Park. So if you want to take a trip to South Dakota, somewhere to stop along the way, I would come back here, honestly. I know, Adam, when you were in the area, you didn't stop at Badlands National Park.
I know I tried to, but then they tried to charge me $30, and I tried to convince the woman to just let me in for free, and she wouldn't.
They don't do that at national parks.
I tried anyways, but because I was in there for a little bit. Rapid City was really cool. It was a cool little city to visit, and I enjoyed that. So yeah, I was gonna go because you did recommend it to me, and then I was like, I'm not spending $30 because I think I only had like, time wise, I was trying to get somewhere else, so I was like, I have like an hour to kind of drive through, and
that's not worth it.
Spending 30 for an hour to drive through didn't seem worth it. Yeah.
No, if you're gonna go, you want to spend 4 to 5 hours at least driving through at a minimum. I would say get there in the morning and spend the whole day. There is one place to get food in the park, but a lot of people, like I said, are in their RVs or in some kind of camper where they have food with them. So bring a lot of snacks, and then I don't know. There's just not food options. So if you go for a full day, bring stuff with you.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I want to check it out again. So maybe some other time I'll be up in that area.
You should, because I keep telling Ron, I'm like, well, if we make our way back and go to South Dakota, now that I'm on the west side of things, I'm like, oh, we could go to Idaho. We can go to the west side. We can do all of these things, even though South Dakota is pretty fucking far from Washington State from where we're at. But hit up all the national parks.
Far, like it's it'd be a trip. Like it'd be like you'd definitely be taking a couple like a week-long 10-day trip or whatever,
right,
to go to really see it. But I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, but yeah, if you're ever in the United States and want to go to South Dakota, that's where you should go.
Right. All right. Well, that was What to See with Sarah G, and we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to get into the topic about do adults need sex education? And the answer is going to be yes. It's going to be, you don't want to miss this.
Spoiler.
Section. Yeah. We'll be right back. So I think this kind of came to light when we started seeing some of the hearings around the country with different House legislations talking about abortion rights. And the most staggering thing that came from this was how many men do not understand women's bodies in any capacity whatsoever, and that men were making laws regulating women's bodies without even understanding the most basic of biology. There was that senator or representative who said that like the body had ways to shut down rape. Like he just thought that that's just like somehow it could happen. They couldn't explain what an ectopic pregnancy was, so they're talking about abortion in all cases, not understanding that ectopic pregnancy was where the woman's life is essentially at risk and there's no baby basically, and they're still like, oh well, that pro-life, blah blah blah, and because they're just fucking idiots. And then like they hear like there's a procedure called the transvaginal ultrasound.
It has the word trans in it.
Yes. And go crazy thinking that it's something to do with trans rights and everything like that, and it has nothing to do with it whatsoever. There was a woman on Twitter, I feel bad for her, talking about, she basically just posted a tweet saying that she had to go in for a transvaginal ultrasound, and then all these things that, yeah, well, you're a man, so that's blah blah blah. Like all of these comments of just like on Twitter of these people just replying to this random stranger saying, well, the feet never lie, like going through her feed to find pictures of her feet and trying to say that she was a man. She's a cis woman who's having a transvaginal ultrasound. She tried to explain to them, and they're all just like so fucking ignorant.
Oh, I hate.
But-
Oh God.
Yes. So, and I don't think these men are the exception. I think that these men are the norm. This type of ignorance is almost like rewarded. It's like, why would you want to know more? And I think it our society doesn't help the fact that we don't study women enough as far as like medical science and like that. Like things like endometriosis are barely, are only now being studied, even though it's been affected women for years. Because if it affected men, we'd already have a cure for it. There'd already be a pill you'd take, and endometriosis would be cured. So what we did was we decided to kind of to highlight this and highlight the need for men to maybe learn to shut up and learn something, and maybe women to not be afraid to stand up and be like, hey, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. We compiled some of these from the internet, some of the worst like W2F moments that show that maybe every adult in the world should be required to take a basic biology and sex ed class before ever being allowed to be within 3 feet of another human being again. Like it should just be a requirement. You should have to have a license before your dick can get anywhere near a woman's vagina. Like I feel like it should be a legal requirement now.
Side note, before we get into some of the worst things I've seen on the internet where I actually lost brain cells reading these posts, have you seen the TikTok videos of women asking men about like just the anatomy of a woman?
Right.
Or like, could you show me where the clitoris is? And they can't fucking find it, literally. Or asking them how many tampons a woman needs for her period, and men respond with 1. I think just 1. Right? Like men don't understand hormones, pregnancies, periods, anything anatomy related.
There was a whole thing I came across with the peeing where they're like, women don't pee from like their vagina, and it was this whole concept of
They have how many holes?
Right. Yeah, that's another one too. And it really is crazy that, and these are men that like are adult men. These aren't like children. These aren't someone who is still learning this or whatever. Like, these are adult men, some of whom have had children. And like, how did you manage to do this without even understanding the basics?
Well, I think part of the problem, and not to get too political, even though I just mentioned this earlier in the episode, but there's these billboards going around. I'm not even sure which state it is now, which shame on me, of that they're teaching. They're trying to throw sex into schools now and trying to push a porn agenda into schools and all of this shit, which is not true. But
right,
if there was some form of sex education, like going over body parts like they do in other anatomy classes, we wouldn't have a huge, I mean, we'd still have a problem because it wouldn't cover everything, right? But just talking about these are the parts of the body would be something of value for society, especially for these individuals.
It's what it is it's conservative people are so terrified of the idea of even talking about sex or nudity or the human body in any capacity, because somehow that's a problem.
Shameful.
To educate people. It's shameful, when the reality is that actually protects kids from being abused, because they know what's wrong and what's not acceptable. But it's never it's always that part is the part that's considered quote unquote grooming, when what it does is actually educate people against groomers, and it educates people against the the actual groomers in the family and in the church, and the right-wing politicians and things like that. So yes, it's really weird. If we actually had those classes, if kids as young as I think 6, 7, 8 should be learning these things, the very basics. It doesn't mean they're going to run out and start having sex. Anyone who says that is just a fucking idiot. It means they're educated to know about their own bodies, and it makes them sound a lot less stupid 30 years later when they think that that you use 1 tampon during your period.
Well, I also think too, girls are getting their periods earlier and earlier now because of hormones.
Yep.
So they don't understand what's happening to their bodies. And then they can't talk about it in the classrooms because that's banned, or indoctrination,
Right.
or whatever, grooming, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And it's creating even more problems for the people having to figure out what's going on with their bodies. Now, I mean, I took a sex ed class, but it wasn't until I was 20 in college paying for that class. And I got a lot of value out of it. I mean, no surprise, none of the men knew any of the parts of the vagina. Right. When they had to do the test. So like, there's so many parts. Oh my God, it's so easy to be a guy. And of course, everyone passed the male anatomy, but not a lot of people did well on the female anatomy part, which tells you a lot.
Yeah.
But it was the first time I felt comfortable learning. I was at an age where we talked more in depth about sex and things like that, but even just the anatomy stuff. I'm like, why couldn't have this been taught in high school?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it should be taught even younger, but because kids are having sex younger too, and I think that it's just the more education, the less likely someone thinks, oh, I can't get pregnant that way because
Get pregnant holding hands.
Whatever, yeah, because that's the thing. It's either really innocent. Oh, can I get pregnant holding hands? Or it's I can't get pregnant if if I pull out, right? Like, and it's like they both come from the same level of ignorance too.
Yeah.
So yeah, some of these are just are gonna blow your mind. And we're gonna start with. I mean, I feel like all of them are insane, and these are coming from different places of the internet. I saw some of these from the account of Ask Aubrey on Twitter. She steals these from other people and removes all source, so I have no problems also stealing them and using them too, because fair play. So here's one that says, I can't find a source, but I know there have been cases. Now, when everyone starts with that, by the way, that
it's legit. It's so legit.
Yeah, that's really scientific. So I can't find a source, but I know there have been cases where a man has sex with one woman and then goes and has sex with another woman before showering, and some of the first woman's eggs are still on his penis. They can implant into the second woman who can carry the first woman's child. It is the same idea as medical egg donors.
Again, men don't understand pregnancies. Eggs don't just pop out.
Well, they also think that do they think that they're having sex with the eggs in do they think the eggs are just like poking out of the cervix, and every time you're like slamming a woman, like you're like grabbing one, like it's like a claw machine? Is that what they think their penis is doing? Like, I don't understand. They don't. Yeah,
just the utter stupidity in this one.
Yes, it's the same idea as medical egg donors. Why go to a medical egg donor when you could just have sex with one woman and then before showering go have sex with another woman and just transfer the egg to her that way? Like, that's all you have to do.
It's that easy. If you're a man,
so simple.
Why didn't women think of this? Another one. The woman can. This is a statement, not even a question. The woman can get pregnant if the underwear is washed together.
Right. So I'm trying to figure out the chronology in this. So
it's confusing.
Okay. So this means if you just wash a man's and woman's underwear together, not like that they haven't had sex.
A baby forms?
Huh? Apparently.
Then the woman just magically.
Or if she wears her underwear again after it's been washed with a man's underwear, then somehow she can get pregnant.
But we're washing it, so where's the sperm going?
Right. No, it doesn't matter. It sticks around.
Oh, okay.
Because sperm is strong.
And eggs are weak, apparently.
Apparently, eggs will just pop out.
Yeah, we'll just pop out of you. Sure.
Yeah. So that was great. There's not even any. It doesn't even make sense. What I do like is that it's a screenshot from Reddit. I can tell because it has -4 votes. So at least people were voting.
Only -4.
But at least someone was voting it down.
Okay. Next one.
Yeah, and then this one, it's just like the sheer audacity of men. Okay, this one says, I am 6 feet tall and I sent my wife to the hospital because they said she had an ovarian cyst and I popped them from going too deep.
Pause. Why did you have to mention that you're 6 feet tall?
I don't know.
Because you have a big dick? Is that what you're saying?
But it doesn't necessarily mean that either. He probably thinks because he's tall, it means he has a big dick too, as well.
Okay.
And then so he popped them from going too deep, her ovarian cyst. Let's just say all the nurses that passed by the room either gave me a thumbs up or were flirting with me after they read the chart.
I highly doubt that fucking happened, my dude.
And first of all, I have never had an ovarian cyst. Have you ever had one?
No, I haven't.
Okay. I've had friends that had one that said there was one of the most intensely painful things. Yep. That is basically to the point of vomiting and everything like that. Can you imagine
having sex?
Well, okay, having sex, but not just that. Well, if you had a cyst that you didn't know, like it was about to pop or whatever,
fair.
But having sex with someone and then causing her that much pain, having her be in so much pain that she has to go to the hospital, and thinking that it's because you're and then being proud of that. First of all, that's just a lack of empathy right there. Like, how do you not feel bad for your spouse that she's in that much pain? Because that she had to go to the fucking hospital. And then hopefully she divorces dumbass for this post alone. But no, you cannot pop an ovarian cyst. Now,
it's not like popping a pimple. You just don't I just hit it a million times and it just pops.
Well, and also, does he think that he's having sex with someone's ovaries? Does he think does he not understand what the cervix is? Does he not understand where the ovaries are? Now
where his dick is going. Does he
Yeah.
think his dick touches an
I think
ovary?
he thinks I think he's having sex. I think he thinks he's having sex with her in her ovaries, around her ovaries, or ovary adjacent. Now I think he basically what probably happened is he jackhammered so hard because he was so terrible at sex that he thought jackhammering was the only thing to do, that it was like pounding against her, causing her entire body to shake, and that could have caused a cyst to pop. Once again, nothing worth celebrating. You just cause somebody to go through an extreme amount of pain because you're bad at sex.
What the nurses were giving him thumbs up and were flirting with him.
We'll chart this under things that never happened for 200, Alex.
For real. And also, just from the egg getting on, like the transfer of the egg and then this one, I feel like men on this side of the internet really think that when their dick goes inside a woman, they're touching eggs, they're touching over, like they have no clue of the anatomy whatsoever.
Yeah, I think maybe, I don't know how you'd have to explain it to him in a way that it's just like if you pull your car up to the mechanic's shop, you're not in the garage. You're just waiting for them to do the work. It's not till when they have to go in and they have to pull it in themselves in order to fix your car and then let it out. You didn't do anything, that kind of thing. Like, because I feel like they don't understand what they're having sex with.
A vagina.
Right. They just don't understand.
But they don't understand what a vagina
is. What its purpose is. I think they think that all of the baby making parts are right in that little area. It's like
you touch one, you get it all.
It's like a romper room just bouncing around everywhere.
I hate men. Okay. Oh God, this next one.
This next one is great.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and enjoy reading this one.
My boyfriend thinks my lubricant is another man's cum. Hi all. I'm trying to prove to my boyfriend that women can have creamy white discharge as well. We were having sex the other day and I left some white discharge on his dick, and now he thinks it's come from another man. I wasn't sure if he was serious, but he is serious. It's kind of funny to me at the same time. He doesn't believe me. This is common, right?
Like this poor woman, being
I know,
gaslit into thinking that her enjoying herself is somehow not acceptable. And that's really what it is that she was enjoying herself and was coming, and he attacked her and is calling it another man's cum.
I literally can't. That's like the same thing as when men say, "Oh, you're so wet," and it's literally just discharge.
Right.
And I'm like, no, actually, I'm not wet. This is just my normal body cleanse, like my vagina just cleaning itself. But cool. Right. I'm glad you think that I'm sopping wet right now.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing. Does he think that whenever she is actually wet, that it's because there's more cum in there? Does he understand how the body lubricates itself? Does he understand that
no,
women's self lubricating can have colors and everything? It just I don't. Yeah,
insecurity of men, audacity of men, no knowledge of a woman's anatomy or bodily functions.
I just have to, and I have to wonder, what is going through his brain, rather than to think it blows my mind. It blows my mind to think that, and I think that just even not to understand that this is not normal, to blame your girlfriend, to have your ignorance, instead of just asking her about it or try to talk to her about it, you lead right into blaming her for doing something wrong. What
is that? Oh, interesting. I didn't know. It's not embarrassing to ask what's going on with your partner's body, of hey, is this normal? Just to have the conversation. If you don't know, you don't know. That's fine.
Right.
But ask instead of assume.
First time I've ever noticed that. Is that is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is it a neutral thing? Is this something? Does it mean I should do something different? Or, that's what you should be asking. Mm-hmm. Not, oh my God, you have another man's cum inside you. To leap to that conclusion just shows that you are a piece of shit human being.
Yeah. I'm trying to think the female equivalent of not knowing about a man's body part, about a penis, or just the reproductive system in general. I know, I was confused in my teens of I had no idea what pre-cum was versus actual cum. So that was a learning of, oh, you could get pregnant from pre-cum, and that's what happens at the beginning. It makes sense, pre whatever, and that was something to overcome. But as far as I knew what the balls were, I understood that aspect. I understood circumcised versus uncircumcised.
I think that
I don't understand. Like, there's not
the only thing that I could think of that would like women would be unaware of would also be related to would be how infrequently men wash their ass, and then they find that out when they get down to that general area, and that's not a ignorant thing. That's just a why do men do that thing? But that would be like the only thing I can think of is just once again, men being disgusting people.
Magma. That was something I learned in my sex ed class that I had no idea what it was, because people don't clean themselves properly.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not really an anatomy thing. That's
just a
routine.
Thing.
Yeah, hygiene. Yeah.
I did see one when I was going through these that was about smegma, but it was very much obviously tongue in cheek. This guy was being sarcastic about it, and so I didn't post it in there, even though I think where I got it from, they thought it was legit, and I was like, I'm not willing to believe that this guy is legit. Like he was kind of joking about it being good for you, like hell, like it's got protein or something like that. Like,
God!
I think he was just being nasty. Not as nasty as this next one though. This is me reading this one.
Go for it, please do it.
This one was on Facebook. Yeah, okay. It's actually fucked up when you realize that those clots that girls get in their period blood are bits of the baby's fingers and shit. What the fuck? Like, Sarah, would you like to enlighten any men who are listening right now who might be confused by this?
Okay, I think men have really latched on to those abortion signs where they're like, oh, the heartbeat at this stage and the baby looks like this at 2 weeks and it's a full formed child. Not the case. Periods are the shedding of the lining is being shed, and so there's clots and things like that, but it's from the egg. It's from other things. It's not. You're not going to have fingers and toes and eyes.
There's no baby when there's a period.
It's not fertilized. It's just it's just anatomy and biology and a lesson that they did not learn.
Right. It is it's basically there's not even how to explain it yet. To explain it to somebody just other than just you're stupid. Someone who says this is fucking stupid. And you have to be so ignorant that to think, the whole point of when someone has a period, they're not pregnant. Their uterine line is shedding. And this
they think
shedding.
They think that having a period means you're killing a baby too. Right. That's probably what they think. So you can't win either way. You're either killing a baby or you're having an abortion and killing a baby.
Insane. But if you don't want to get pregnant, you can follow the advice of this next astute observer of womankind.
Love this guy. No, women cannot get pregnant with legs closed. If your legs are closed, then your vagina is not going to get enough oxygen to optimally function. Besides, you also need light, which you aren't going to get with your legs closed.
So you need light and oxygen to create.
Is it a plant?
Apparently.
Am I a plant? Is my uterus need it's like a plant environment down there?
Yeah, no. Apparently, this person read about photosynthesis and thought that applied to humans.
So what about the people who fuck in the dark, though?
I mean, not this guy. He makes sure that there's a light on at all times.
Like right on your crotch while you're fucking, because you can't.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you got plenty of light in there. And then you got to sit there with your legs spread to let it breathe for a while.
Get enough oxygen in there.
But, so all you have to do is just close your legs. And as long as you close your legs, you can't get pregnant. It's funny. It's like this guy is just admitting how terrible he has at sex because have you ever had sex with your legs closed from behind or from from the side?
Obviously. Yeah.
But no, you can't do that because you can't even have sex that way. Your legs are closed, right? So there's no way you can get pregnant either.
It's the old school thinking of pinch a penny between your legs and keep your legs closed because that's the whole.
Huh? I haven't heard that one. Is that something you were told?
No, not me, but friends who went to Catholic school were told pinch a penny, pinch a penny.
Oh my.
You can pinch a penny, then you're sitting the right way, then you're
Ah.
proper, you're ladylike, and you can't get pregnant if you're pinching a penny between your knees.
Well, I think that the first time that I was like intimate with someone and they were naked and they had their legs closed and from behind I could still see. I was like, oh my God, it doesn't hide everything. Like it surprised me because I didn't know, it just like you'd have no
It's still
idea.
there.
It's still there. It's not all hidden. Look at that. You can still have fun with it. Yeah, it's
Let alone, let's just ignore the asshole for a second here. You can still,
yeah, yes.
but pinch
Oh
a
my
penny
God.
because nothing bad can happen if you do that. Close your legs.
So if you do get lots of light and lots of sun lots of air to your vagina, and so you do get pregnant, we also have to make sure that you're very careful if you decide to go swimming. So
Tell me more.
This next person asks, can pregnant women go swimming? Now he starts off and says, I am a man, so I don't know. That's all you needed to say right there. Just
Yep.
No, you don't need to ask anything else. Shut the fuck up after that. I'm a man, so I don't know. Yes, correct. This is the only correct thing that you said. Is it possible for pregnant women to go swimming without unintentionally drowning the baby? How can the baby breathe if the vagina is underwater? Should the woman keep the vagina above water so the baby can breathe through the vagina? So essentially, should she
That is the stupidest thing I've ever read.
So she just stand on her head in the water and make sure that her legs are open to the air to make sure that the baby can breathe? Yes.
There's this thing called a uterus and a cervix. And if you learned about those two things, I think that would answer your question.
I mean, and a placenta, and and essentially the sac that the baby is in, not breathing air. Like he's obviously a man who who's never witnessed a birth either. Like do you think that the babies are breathing air inside? Do you think a pregnant woman is filled with air? Like she's like that's what it is. Like it's like a little space station in there, and the baby's just like floating around and like walking on the moon. Like I have to think that's what this guy thinks. That he thinks she's going to go in the water. All of a sudden, the water is going to rush, through her cervix and just drown the baby.
Whoosh.
Yeah.
Well, so how do women who aren't pregnant go swimming? Does it just attack our entire inside?
Right,
I mean,
right.
What's the alternative when we're just not?
Yeah, don't you know? You just it's just automatically. That's why real ladies don't go swimming, because you can get pregnant by octopus that way. Don't you know?
So when you go swimming, water doesn't go right up your urethra then?
Oh yeah,
You're good?
right. Oh yeah, it's right. Yeah,
Your
why does it go right up your butt? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
do they not understand? It's so many. I mean, obviously these are men, but men have already shown themselves how stupid they are, but it just continues. And I think that identifying yourself as a man and then asking a stupid question is even funnier to me in some of these.
At least you said I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We clearly know you
We're
don't
like,
know.
No shit, dude.
Yeah.
Well,
Next question.
this next one.
Oh God. Male here. Thanks for calling that one up.
Yeah.
I think it's gross how young girls push out their periods and don't hold them and wait until they are older. They don't need to have their periods yet when they are 13. Why can't they just wait to have them until they're 18? Because of hormones, you dumb shit. Because of fucking hormones.
Well, it's just like saying, like, why do 10-year-old boys get boners? Like it's like your body is reacting and growing as well. Like, and yes, periods happen for some women, start really early, some start later, but like it's because he's sexualizing women. Because periods to him, I mean, well, that means she's ready
sex.
to, yeah, basically, not anything else.
She's a woman if she has her period.
What I love is this guy actually posted this in the subreddit periods on Reddit. So he just had the audacity just to post not a question, because this isn't really a question.
It's a statement, yeah.
Just to post his statement about how he thinks it's gross, and the user account's deleted, which is good, because I imagine that he got ripped a new one.
Also 13, 14 is on the later side of having your period too. Most people, I was 14 when I had my period, and I was way on the late side of things. I remember going to the doctor and they're like, you still haven't had your period? I was like, nope, still hasn't happened to me.
Did your doctor shame you? Sounds a little bit
again, I've had a slew of shitty doctors, but but I was trying to, honestly, for this guy right here, I was just trying to hold it until I was 18, really was what I was trying to do.
That's the other thing too, is this concept that you can hold in your period. Like I think
I can
some
control
men
it.
think like when you have to pee, how you can kind of hold it in a little bit for a little while, or something like that. They think a period's the same thing. You just hold it in. You just don't
Wait
give it.
till they hear how periods disrupt women's livelihoods in third world
Yes.
countries,
Oh,
that they can't go work because it's not okay,
right.
and they don't have products, so they have to stay at home on bleeding days.
Yeah.
And it pushes them back. It ruins their education. It ruins their job prospects, and they feel ousted from their community because of their fucking period, which is a natural process. So, deleted user, shut the fuck up.
I saw another one too where there was a teacher giving out, making sure that all of her menstruating like students had whatever they needed, like pads and tampons of different sizes like that. And there was some commenter on this post saying, "I can't believe you're giving contraceptives to children."
That's like the people who say tampons just preps you for having sex.
Right.
I had friends' moms who said that shit to them. And they were so afraid when I carried tampons in my backpack and she was on her period and she kept asking me, "Do you have a pad instead?" I was like, "No, I don't have a pad. I have a tampon. Do you want this or not?" And she's like, "My mom's going to be so mad if she finds out I use a tampon."
Oh my God. And, so
because
it's
it's
not
not
men.
holy.
It's not just men too. Women obviously also have very bad takes on sex ed, but I'm going to blame that on men running the education system, basically.
Well, yeah. And then you mentioned anything like period cups and having to put your fingers up there to stop, for a cup to prevent bleeding out, not bleeding out, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Just any of those period related things people think are disgusting because you're touching yourself versus using an applicator, which is bad for the environment, in my opinion. That's why I use a cup. I will always be an advocate for period cups. But I remember when I started using a period cup, people said, "Oh, but that's so gross that you put your fingers up there. Have you had sex?
Right.
Do you touch yourself? What do you fucking
mean? Do you not wash your hands? Like,
Right. Oh my God. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah. Let's get in a couple more of these here. I think you get to share this one, I think, right?
No, this is you.
This is me. Confirmed fact. Well, that's how we know it's neither confirmed nor a fact. Females retain a percentage of DNA from every man she has ever slept with. So, of course, it starts with the females. So we also know that this is a piece of shit person. Logically speaking, the more guys she's fornicated with, the less that the kid will look like you.
How do I retain the DNA? Please explain that to me.
It has, don't you have your little, your little file cabinet inside your vagina that just, keeps little samples. There's a little slide that it just drops little slides on, and then, mixes them all together for you whenever you decide to get pregnant. That's how it works. Yeah.
Huh.
The little lab inside you. That's
so
why they call it the labia, because there's a lab there.
Oh my God, stop. So if I have sex and get pregnant, they'll look like a culmination of all the other people I've slept with and not the person whose sperm it's actually coming from.
Well, it just won't look as much like them. It'll look like them plus every other person you've ever slept with, because you retain DNA from every time you slept with somebody.
So what happens when I go on to Jerry Springer and they ask who the father is? Is it just...
Yeah, it's everybody. It's like,
wow.
That's how it works. So yeah,
I learn more every day. Thank you. Here. Thank you for educating me. Wow.
Okay, this next one is great. This is one of my. I think these are gonna be our last two, and these last two are kind of my favorites, I think.
All right. Have any men here wanted to eat a woman out during their period so they can find the egg with their tongue, harbor it in their cheeks, and then come on their own mouth to fertilize the egg and incubate it, creating a mouth baby? Pause. No words.
Yeah. Now, I imagine they think that I imagine part of this is them thinking they're being funny.
Well, mouth baby doesn't sound like a very serious term to me. I don't know about you.
But these are people who think really like that you can't get pregnant if you don't have sunlight and air going to your vagina. So, like, I don't know. Is it just a
test? They think test tube baby and then immediately go, well, then I can create a baby in my mouth.
So yeah, why don't I need women? I'll just go ahead and have a mouth baby. So, and just the idea, I also think that they think that the egg is like the size of like a chicken egg. Like it's something that they could just like you know,
can
or
see
they can
and-
see it, and they're actually capable of seeing with the naked eye and be able to be like, oh, here's the egg, you know, and just like pocket in the corner of their mouth. And
Yep.
I don't even like know why someone's brain would go here, but like your brain is broken if this is what you're thinking about.
Also, periods. Let's go back to periods for a second. Unfertilized egg shedding the lining of the vagina, and that's what you're eating out. If you're, if you're eating out a woman on her period, that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
You're not getting an egg that could be fertilized. It's already an unfertilized egg at that point.
Yes.
What the fuck are you talking about?
This one I'm just like I want to meet these people in person and then
How old
and then
do you think they are?
You know, some of them like, and because I've read a lot of context with some of the stuff too, or I've gone for some of them, I've actually gone to the original threads and everything. It's there. I would say that there are people anywhere from their 20s and up. So, and I can see in your 20s maybe being a little less aware, but like there are people who are grown. I mean, a lot of these things these are grown ass adults who even call themselves doctors, like our last one.
Oh.
Who is Dr. Oz, that failed Senate candidate and scam artist from Oprah.
He doesn't know how to make a salad. There was some grocery store thing he did where he was trying to make guacamole or something.
No, he's like talking about like, it was an appetizer thing about like making a vegetable platter or something like that, like a crudité.
Yeah.
And but he was like putting the weirdest things on it. Like it was like, you know, and then it turns out that, he's like 12 properties and, millions and millions of dollars. He probably has never made a dish himself, in years. So
anyways,
this doctor, a man in his, I think, 60s or 70s, says, evolution. Ugly men make more sperm than attractive men because they don't get as many chances to deposit it.
And then there's a link in his tweet. I don't know what that leads to because I just have the image, but
yeah, I can't remember what it goes to actually either. But I remember
his
when
study?
he posted this. Yeah, it's probably like something. It's probably what it's probably going to is one of his little snake oil pills or whatever. It's like boost your sperm capacity or whatever. If you're an attractive man. So the idea that, first of all, that ugly men have less sex than attractive men. Okay, maybe that's possible. I don't know. I think, what one person considers ugly, another person considers attractive, et cetera. There are traditionally attractive people, but there's plenty of people that are just average that have plenty of sex. And the idea that the ugly ones make more sperm, that it's just I don't even know how to just smack this into his head that it doesn't make it. That makes no sense. I mean, when we ejaculate, I mean, there's thousands of sperm coming out. Do you think that like ugly men all of a sudden it's like a more of a fire hose, that it's all of a sudden just like it's like 10,000s or hundreds of thousands or millions of them?
I know this dude that I'm in is ugly, so I'm gonna produce more sperm.
And like Brad Pitt, just like one little tiny sperm pops out and just swims around, because he's like, well, I get to have sex all the time or something like that. I mean, I don't understand what the fuck this is, but that's Dr. Oz.
It's evolution.
Yeah,
it's evolution, Adam. Figure that.
Yeah, evolution. Evolution. You don't understand what evolution means. That if this were true, let's just say this, just scientifically, let's follow this along its logical path, that ugly men made more sperm than attractive men because they don't get as many chances. This would happen over a series of generations. And so this would be not us, but maybe 400 years from now, the ugly men would have the strongest sperm in the world. If this were even possible, you would not see any effects of it now. You would not see anything change now. It might be 4,000 years from now. Like it would not be something that you would be able to like examine in real time. And the fact that he thinks that just shows what a fucking quack he is too. And I think it just goes to show that, yes, adults need sex education. This is not just children. These are fucking people who are spokespeople, who are doctors, people who are, who are politicians, people who have the like public's trust, generally speaking, saying this terrible stuff.
My dad said my dad is a Republican and I love my father, but he made a statement saying, I listen to my doctors for my healthcare and I listen to my politicians for other things. So if you're wanting to know more about your own body, ask a fucking healthcare professional, not a politician.
Not just somebody called doctor, but like an
Right.
actual medical professional.
Yeah, it blows my crazy. Like I recently had a doctor's appointment a couple weeks ago, and the things she was telling me that people come into the office and start asking about because they saw a TikTok on this or whatever on that, she goes, it drives me up the fucking wall. She didn't say fucking, but she's like, it drives me up the wall. Just all this misinformation from people who have a following, and people just assume they're right because they're famous or popular or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But they have no knowledge. They've done no research. They just assume those people must be right.
So if you're listening to this and you have been challenged by somebody with your, like what you know about your own body, if you're a woman or femme presenting or anything, stand strong. Never let a man or any idiot like gaslight you about your own body, and and do your research if you have questions. Don't make statements like this if you think you know something and you don't. Just go ahead and do some research. It's okay. And if you're with a partner, guys, and you're curious about something, don't accuse them of anything. Especially don't jump to them cheating or anything like that. Ask them, talk to them about it. Talk about their bodies, learn about their bodies. I can promise you it makes you a better sexual partner if you know more about a woman's body.
Because then you can sympathize when she's struggling with cramps related to her period, or just anything sex related where she doesn't feel comfortable because of whatever, or something's going on down there and needs to go to the doctor for that. Don't just assume, oh, well, I know the answer because I'm a guy and I've had sex with 10 other people. Right. No, you don't know the answer. You don't know her body.
Because those 30-second jackrabbit sessions where you came and then asked her if she came and she said, yeah, sure I did, don't really count as you having sexual experiences.
Yeah, well.
So,
tell that to the cysts that they popped, apparently.
Yeah, I know, right? We want to hear if you have any horror stories. Feel free to share them with us as well. You can call our hotline at 407-519-0181 or email us at datingkindofsuckspodcast@gmail.com, or even share them in the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/DKS Podcast.
And for as little as $5 a month, you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/DKS Podcast. This shows your support, and we'd really appreciate you being a member on there. After this episode, we're recording our little exclusive Patreon episode. So if you're a patron, get ready for that. You can also follow us on social media. Instagram is at Dating Kinda Sucks. Adam's TikTok is at Adam Heath. You can see his most viral pronoun TikTok, which is pissing off a lot of people. Or you can follow me at Simply Sarah G. And then, of course, if you've been listening for a long time and you haven't shared this podcast with friends and family who might be interested in learning more, especially the shitty men who don't understand the anatomy of women's bodies or periods or pregnancies or whatever, share this episode with them, and then give us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and follow on Spotify.
And if you are listening and you want to watch us, you can also watch us on YouTube at youtube.com/datingkindasucks. And we will be back in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. So thank you for listening.
Until next time.
Whether you're married or single or poly or ace, or hanging out with swingers back at your place, listen to us as we get no luck on Tinder and Bumble and plenty of yuck, trying and having no luck, because we all know dating kinda sucks. Sarah and Adam are two of a kind. He says stupid shit and she doesn't mind. They're not doing this show to make any buck. Life as a chicken whose feathers they pluck. Why does it work? Well, here is the crux. They both know dating kinda sucks. Dating kinda sucks.